continuing to read from Letters by Srila Prabhupada, and we are now reading from 1970. And this is in September 1970. The only difficulty in reading these letters was we don't know what Prabhupada's replying to. So sometimes you can kind of tell, sometimes you have to guess. I think Krishna is giving you good intelligence to manage everything in Paris. He's giving reports to Prabhupada what's going on, so Prabhupada is responding that Krishna is giving you intelligence. In other words, you're doing the right thing, you're being successful. So that means Krishna is guiding you. Everyone should be kept fully engaged 100% of the time in Krishna's service without a vacant moment, so that Maya will never have a chance to act. Sometimes Prabhupada would say, be engaged 24 hours a day. These are devotees living in the temple, so they could be engaged 24 hours a day. And even when they're sleeping, that's for Krishna, so 24 hours engagement. It does not matter what one's engagement in Krishna's service may be. Krishna accepts equally the service given to him by a little calf and that given by Srimati Radharani. So we should all be very much appreciative of our god brothers and god sisters' service. So there may have been some situation Prabhupada's responding to. We don't know for sure about maybe somebody thinking their service is more important, or perhaps maybe even belittling someone who's not doing important service, or anything that has to deal with thinking that one service is more important, or perhaps more probably thinking your service is better. So then Prabhupada's making a point that spiritual vision is, in one sense you see everything spiritual is absolute, which means it's because it's for Krishna, it's spiritual. So in that sense, it's equal. Like we're all equal, right? Because we're spiritual beings, we're all equal. Although we have different bodies, we may be more evolved spiritually, but in another sense, we're all equal because we're all spiritual. So everyone engaged in Krishna's service is equal, and then Prabhupada says that Krishna is pleased by everyone's service. He accepts everyone's service equally. So somebody's doing what appears to be a little bit of service, then you should appreciate that. So what's interesting is that really, if you understand what Prabhupada's saying here, he's saying, don't look at it from your perspective that this is better than this service is better than this, or this is more service than that, but look at it from Krishna's perspective, because it's for him and he's accepting it. See the difference? So, okay, you may make a judgment if you're a manager. Well, we could do 5 things, this is most important, this is not as important. That's different. But here Prabhupada's speaking purely from a relational point of view of working together, and particularly a point of view of knowledge and realization. So, from this, what we call the absolute platform, Krishna's accepting the service of everyone, so why not you? What's your problem? Right? And this is very interesting, because sometimes we see that even Prabhupada accepted service of devotees that some devotees didn't really like. Whoa. There we go. Like some devotees may have felt that this devotee is not doing service well, or he should be doing another service, or whatever. But that service was pleasing to Prabhupada. So now we're looking at it one way, but we're not thinking, how is my spiritual master looking at it? Because if it's pleasing to my spiritual master, then I should be happy that he's pleased, even if I'm not pleased, right? I mean, it should be. If Krishna is pleased, I should be pleased, even if I'm not pleased. I mean, that's the idea. So we sometimes get caught in that trap. I don't think Prabhupada would be pleased with this, or I don't think Krishna's pleased with that. Well, you may be right, but you may be wrong. So we have to try to sometimes see things through the devotee's heart. The devotee's sincere, he's trying to serve. Is that pleasing to Prabhupada? Is that pleasing to my spiritual master? He's making sincere effort. So then we see it that way and we think, yes, he must be pleasing Prabhupada, he's trying. He's making an effort. So that way, Prabhupada's saying, if you see that way, then you can appreciate it. Because it's not always easy to appreciate, is it? And we can understand from this letter that Prabhupada wants us to appreciate. So we should all be very much appreciative of our godbrothers and godsisters' service, even if it's little service, not significant. That's Krishna consciousness. I mean, imagine every devotee was like that. Well, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? Oh, I appreciate your service so much. What? No, I didn't do anything. No. So much appreciating, but actually appreciating, not just saying it, but actually appreciating. That's it's one thing you could say, okay, I heard the class, so I'm going to go around and tell everyone how much I appreciate their service. But you really don't. You're just saying it because, that's what it says you should do. That's not really how we should understand any instruction. It's not just, okay, I should do it. But the real instruction, yes, you should do it, of course. It's better than not doing it. But the real instruction is to actually feel it. Like you might say, when you see a sannyasi, you should pay obeisances. When you see devotees in the morning, you should pay obeisances. When you see your spiritual master, you should pay obeisances. Okay, that's one level. But the other level is you should want to. And you should feel humble, and you should be offering them respects. That's what you're supposed to be experiencing. Right? So that's how we have to see it. Not just that you say I appreciate, but you actually feel it. That's what Prabhupada means. So the two things are there. See it more from Krishna's perspective. He appreciates anything his devotee does. And then feel that if Krishna appreciates, I should also appreciate. Okay. I can't read the dates here. Oh, this is September 21st. Okay. This is January 1st, 1971. Oh, now we're into 71. Let's go back a little. I think I skipped. I think you can understand what's happening by Prabhupada's response to this letter. Now all my disciples must work combinedly and with cooperation to spread the Sankirtan movement. If you cannot work together, then my work is stopped up. Our society is like one big family, and our relationships should be based on love and trust. We must give up the fighting spirit and use our intelligence to push ahead. You should accept help from your godbrothers. So obviously there's some fighting going on here. So Prabhupada is making a few points. We should work combinedly with cooperation. If we can't, then the work's going to stop. We're not going to be able to work. The mission won't go on. And we're like a family, so within a family there should be love and there should be trust. And then he said we should give up the fighting spirit. So fighting spirit just comes, it's packaged into Kali Yuga. That's what Kali Yuga is about, fighting. So Go to the park, the little kids are fighting. Everybody's fighting. Go, every house in the street, you don't think there's fighting? Sometime, the next month, somebody's going to fight about something. Maybe every day in some families, right? At least amongst the kids, they like to fight. So, it's Kali Yuga. I don't know in other ages if everybody fought so much, but Kali Yuga is pretty good for fighting. So, the way I read this is that, as we were discussing last week, that there's a nature that we all have, and fighting it's kind of natural. You're with people that you don't get along with, they do things in a way you wouldn't do them yourself. They make decisions you don't agree with. At some point, you get upset. And if they do something very upsetting, you get very upset. And so Prabhupada's noticing this. And I think what's going on here, he's saying you should accept help from your godbrothers. That means maybe they're giving him some feedback that he didn't want, and he's resisting. Maybe he's fighting back, maybe he's criticizing back, that response. Well, you're not so good yourself. That's the response to criticism or suggestion. That's common. So, we have the fighting spirit, we should give it up. Why? For higher cause. That's basically what Prabhupada's saying. Okay, this may be the way you are, look at the bigger picture. We have a movement. If we don't work together, this important movement cannot go on, so give up your fighting spirit. It's a higher cause. Transcend your tendency for a higher cause. Like in the Gita, you have the concept of intelligence being higher than mind and senses. So by use of intelligence, you control your mind, you control your senses. So it's a similar thing here, Or by, you're working for something higher. So by focusing and working on for something higher, you give up your lower tendencies. So it's just really a request. Please give up your fighting spirit. Otherwise, how can we push the movement on? It's not going to work. So then you think, okay. Some people find this very difficult. Some people don't. Some people understand this. It's just, they understand intuitively. Okay, I don't agree with what you're doing, but if I make this huge ruckus, it's going to disturb the situation, so I'll just go along with it, even though I don't agree. Even though I'm upset. But I don't tell anybody I'm upset. I go along with it. Some people they know that. It's logical to them. It's common sense. Other people, they don't. Other people are of the mentality, I can't go along with it because I don't think it's right, I don't agree. And they're outspoken, they'll let people know they don't agree, they'll let, like that. So Prabhupada's saying, okay, if that's where you're at, if that's your nature, it's not going to work for spreading Krishna consciousness. Now, I'm sure some people may read this and say, no, if it's not right, you shouldn't cooperate. And I think we've discussed this a little bit, and there is truth to that. But there's another side of that and generally what Prabhupada would say, then try to change it, but cooperate while you're trying to change it. You don't just have a mutiny, everybody leaves, and you have no organization. Right? So, try to work it out. Okay, give up your fighting spirit, cooperate, try to work it out. You may not agree, try to work it out. That's the goal. Now, Prabhupada wrote many letters about this. Did it happen? Sometimes it did, and sometimes it didn't. Sometimes there are people who could not cooperate. So what did Prabhupada do? As we talked last week, he would say, okay, then you go here and you go there. This was the first instruction, give up your fighting spirit, work combinedly. The second remedial measure was, okay, you go here, you go there. It's like, okay, you can't live together, separate. You can't get back together, divorce. It's not what we want, but sometimes that's all we can do. So Prabhupada would do that because it was practical. Have to be practical. So sometimes it may come to that, but it's not the first line of defense. Okay, here's a very interesting statement. Would you all like to hear this interesting statement? No, I didn't hear anything from any of you. We have to figure out how you can put up your webcam so I can hear you and see you. Anyway, this is what Prabhupada said. No, I have to go and see if you said yes. Nobody said yes. I don't know if I'm going to tell you then. Okay, teasing only. This is what Prabhupada said. Please continue to work with determination and great faith in Krishna and Guru Maharaj. This is Prabhupada. Great faith in Krishna and Guru Maharaj. Did he mean his Guru Maharaj or himself? He meant himself. And full cooperation of your God brothers. Determination, faith in Krishna Guru Maharaj, full cooperation of your God brothers. That means cooperate with them and fellow members of the governing body. So this must have been to the governing body commission. These are the leaders of the movement. Cooperate with your God brothers and the other members of the governing body. If you all keep to the standard practices of pure spiritual life as I have humbly instructed you, there's no doubt that this Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya will overtake all the earth, and all opposing parties will be cracked down to nothing. Now let me explain that. That's very interesting. Let's take the second half of the sentence first, and then it'll make the first part will have more power. Prabhupada saying, I've given you a process which is pure. Rising early, chanting your rounds. I know all of you out there rise early and chant your rounds. Very well. You follow 4 regular principles, not 3, not 2, not 1, but 4. Right? Yeah, okay. And the other practices of Krishna consciousness, like worshipping the deities, giving Krishna consciousness to others, doing service in the temple, like that. So these are the practices, and attending classes, studying, if you're not in association of devotees, studying scripture. So this is what Prabhupada's talking about. Then he said, if you all keep to this standard practice, then there's no doubt the Sankirtan movement will overtake the earth. In other words, purity is the force. So if you maintain this purity, then in due course of time, or if we, I think there's an if here, that these standard practices meaning also you're fully engaged in spreading Krishna consciousness as an exemplary teacher, using novel ways to do it, and straining your brain how to do it, maintaining exemplary behavior in all your actions and your words and in your mind. Then, if we all do this, the power of that will be so strong and so attractive that gradually our teachings will replace, and it'll just attract people. It'll attract religious people, people who want to be religious, people who aren't religious, who are pious, and people who are teaching other things opposed to pure theism. They just won't have like atheistic science and cheating religions. They just, people will not support them. That's basically what he's saying. That they won't, put 2 products together, Put the iPhone 5 next to the iPhone 1. All right, the iPhone 1's not going to sell. Like that, basically what Prabhupada's saying. And then, so if you take that as a result, then the first thing that Prabhupada's saying, cooperate with your God brothers. Like that, the second thing won't happen if we don't do the first thing. That's the idea. So that's very important for us to understand that Individually, we won't be successful. And Prabhupada said that. He said individually, whatever success we can have individually, it's not going to be internationally broad and powerful. We might make a few hundred disciples, a few thousand. But combinedly, then we're going everywhere in the world, and we're doing something very powerful. We're distributing millions of books in so many languages by our combined efforts. So, combined efforts, the more we're combined, the more we work together, then what happens? The more successful we are. That's what Prabhupada's saying. And if we do it well, then our success will increase more and more and more, and people will appreciate it more and more, and they'll see the value of the teachings of Krishna consciousness, and they'll take it up. Hard to believe, isn't it? Okay. I understand from Kurandar that you will be setting up another ISKCON press in Los Angeles to engage our New York press in transcendental competition for printing my books. I'll have 2 presses. Competition and profiteering spirit are always there in the living entity. It is not that they can be artificially removed in some matter. Actually, we saw in Russia that by removing competition and profit calculation from society, the people were not at all happy, and still these things are going on. So we shall not expect that we are any different. The only difference is that our profit is for Krishna's pleasure, and our competition is how to please Krishna more than someone else. Even amongst the gopis, there is competition to please Krishna. And there is envy also, but this envy is not material. It is transcendental. They are thinking, oh, she has done so much more wonderful service than me. That is very nice, but now let me do something even more wonderful like that. So, competition and profiteering seem to be material, right? So we should not compete with devotees, and we should not try to get anything from anybody. But Prabhupada's saying, but competition is natural. And even the gopis compete to serve Krishna better than the other gopi. But there's no envy. There's nothing mundane. So there is a level of transcendental competition. Transcendental competition, or anything transcendental, will enthuse one in Krishna consciousness. If you're not becoming enthused and motivated for the right reason, it's not Krishna conscious, it's mundane competition. Like, I just want to do better to prove that I'm better. Okay, that's mundane. I want to do better to please Krishna more than you. I want to see if I can please Krishna even more. So the goal is to please Krishna. The goal is not to outdo you. That's the difference, right? Mundane competition, I just want to outdo you because I want to be number one. So Prabhupada's saying, competition is natural, but that's how it should be done. That Krishna is the goal. So you distributed 100 books today. Tomorrow I say, I'm going to do better than you. I'm going to distribute 108 books. And I want to do that to please Prabhupada. So I'm becoming enthused, competitive, because of your service. So that's good. Right? So that we don't want to remove. It's just free from envy. That's good. So anything other than that, it's just material. And as neophyte devotees, these material things come up all the time. So we always have to remember, at least I find this for myself really powerful, why did you come to Krishna consciousness? Did you come to Krishna consciousness to outdo everybody? Probably not. I mean, I'm sure somebody did, but most of us didn't. Did you come to be the number one devotee, to be recognized as the number one devotee? No. Did you come to Krishna consciousness so you could find a place to put your envy? No, I don't think so. Did you come because you didn't like devotees? No, I don't think so. But these things may come up as you're becoming purified. So you just go back and remind yourself why you came to Krishna consciousness. I didn't come to outdo everyone. I didn't come to become the number one. I didn't come to have people bow down to me. I came to serve. That's what we have to remember. And then we won't get into trouble. I mean, or when we do get into trouble, we remember this, and then we get out of trouble. Or if we remember it before, you won't get into trouble in the first place. Why am I here? What's my whole reason I'm here? It's to become a pure devotee, to serve my spiritual master, to serve Prabhupada, to serve his movement, to please him, to please Krishna. That's it. If my having 1 million followers pleases Krishna, I'll take it. If my having no followers pleases Krishna, then I have no followers. Bhaktisiddhanta Naishtiki Brahmachari says, if Krishna wants, I'm prepared to have 100 children, have sex 100 times, have 100 children, if that's what Krishna wants. I didn't come to be brahmachari, I didn't come to be grihastha, I came to please Krishna. If that pleases Krishna, I'll do it. I will do it. That's it. So if we remember that, then if there is envy, if there is competition, profiteering, whatever, then it should only be in relation to pleasing Krishna. Then it's good. Then we're happy. Everything's fine. Right? Okay. The difference between cooperation and Maya. Here, competition is for sense gratification. How much can I enjoy my senses? And the other person sees how much can he enjoy his senses. In the spiritual world, the competition is how to satisfy Krishna. There, the center is one. If you draw innumerable circles, they will not overlap. But here, the circles overlap. Even a small circle can overlap a large circle. This is because in the material world there are many centers, whereas in the spiritual world there is only one center. The spiritual world, whether the circles are big or small, they will never overlap. In the spiritual world, similarly, whatever or whoever is rendering the service, there is never competition or maliciousness. There can't be competition or maliciousness. There can't be anything material in the spiritual world. Otherwise, what does spiritual life mean if we degrade ourselves to the platform of passion and ignorance? And what does spiritual life mean? It just becomes external. But obviously, spiritual life means transcendental. So whenever we find ourselves with attitudes that are material, then we should understand, okay, this is not spiritual life. This is not how someone in Krishna consciousness thinks. It's not how someone on any spiritual path would think. So we just have to be very self-aware. Like you were talking today about shame. Sometimes we don't want to confront our anarthas because we're just ashamed. So as you said, it's better just to ignore it than I don't have to deal with the shame. But actually it's the opposite. The more you are ashamed for how you're thinking, the more you correct it. At least in terms of thinking about doing something that's not Krishna conscious or having attitudes that aren't Krishna conscious. If you stop and think, this is wrong, I'm ashamed that I'm thinking this way, it's very purifying. Not ashamed in a negative way. This is very positive. It's a very positive effect. It really is positive. I mean, if you know how to process it well. If you look at yourself, it's like you're doing something, but you're doing it the wrong way, and you catch yourself. Oh, I'm doing this the wrong way. Why am I'm so stupid. They taught me to do it this way, I'm doing it this way. So then you remember and you do it the right way. So it's the same way. You may be thinking in the wrong way and say, wait a minute, this is not how a devotee thinks. This is wrong. What's the matter with you? And then you should feel ashamed that I'm thinking like this. That helps rectify your thinking. So it can have a very positive effect, I find, anyway. I'm sure for some people, maybe they can't deal with it. But if you understand it, if you understand how it can have a positive effect, then it's just you're reminding yourself that you understand I should go this way, but I'm going that way, and I'm so ashamed because I've been told so many times I should be going this way, but still I'm going that way. And then I look at the situation and say, bad boy, Mahatma, bad boy. You're a very bad boy. Don't do that. And you just connect with what's wrong, and you're so aware of what's wrong that it brings you back to what's right. And you'll see when you're not Krishna conscious, you're not aware. Or even if you're aware, you're not aware enough to deal with it. You're not willing enough to deal with it. You just, I know, but anyway, right? I know I shouldn't, sit here and watch TV for 7 hours, but, it's been a rough day. You'll have a million reasons, right? As opposed to sit there and say, you've been hearing classes every day, utilize your time. You could be studying scripture and you could be chanting, you're watching some stupid show. Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Don't you feel bad? You talk yourself out like that. That will get you out of it. If you're really attached to watching that television show, definitely you're not going to talk to yourself like that. You can say, you deserve it, there's nothing wrong. What's the big deal? These devotees are fanatical. What's the big deal? It's just a television show. Need a little relaxation. 4 hours later, when you turn the TV off, you go, God, I just wasted 4 hours. I'm so stupid. Then, I think under no intoxication, we should include television because it's intoxicating. Don't intoxicated people do this? You try to talk to someone when they're watching television. Isn't it? So, maybe we should make that the 5th regulative principle. So everyone out there who's listening to this class, I want you to be completely ashamed of yourself. I want you to have a breakdown tonight. Cry, collapse in shame for every bad thing you've ever done. Sometimes we just have to tell ourselves, you're on the path of bhakti, you're trying to be pure, this is not the right way to think, or this is not the right way to act for someone who's pure. Just get it together. You talk to yourself. There's a story one teacher tells. He was in a market, and one child was going crazy. And the mother was saying, Jennifer, be calm, Jennifer. Be patient, Jennifer. Just be patient. And the kid's just going crazy. Jennifer, it'll be okay. Just calm down. Just go with the flow. It'll be all right, Jennifer. And so this teacher comes up to the woman and says, I was just admiring how you're dealing so patiently with your child. I'm so impressed. She goes, I'm Jennifer. So, something like that, like you're going off and you go, okay, Mahatma, this is not how a devotee thinks. This is not right. You're thinking right now like an animal, actually. Yeah, aren't you ashamed of yourself? Yeah. Sometimes we are taught that devotees, we're taught through the prayers of acharyas, that the devotees will address themselves as a separate entity. Like address their mind, for example. Like it's I who am the one who has knowledge, who understands what to do, am now addressing my mind and reasoning with my mind as if there are two entities in one body and we're talking. My dear mind, don't you understand that I've given myself to Krishna? Don't you understand that only the lotus feet of Krishna can satisfy us? Why are you always trying to go somewhere else? Can't you just leave me alone? Yeah. It's the same idea. It's a recognition of a problem, and it's a self-talk your way through the problem. This is not right, this is not good, aren't you ashamed of yourself, like that. You can try it and see. It does work. At least it works for me. Okay. It is not so much that because there may be some faults in our God brothers and God sisters, or because there may be some mismanagement or lack of cooperation, that it is due to being impersonalist. This devotee wrote a letter and, he saw, I don't know, maybe he thought like we should all be, unification means we all have the same mindset and the same, we're all like the same, basically. And Prabhupada he's saying in this letter, or later in this letter, he's saying, no, we're all individuals. It's not, the problem is not that we're individuals, but because we're individuals, that's why we're different. And that's why, because there's difference, it's sometimes hard to get along. So it's not, he's saying it's not that we should try not to be individuals and just all kind of lose ourselves in a oneness where we all can cooperate. Say, no, there'll always be differences because we are individuals. Then he goes on to say, it is the nature of the living condition to always have some fault. Even in the spiritual world there's some fault and envy. Sometimes the gopis will quarrel over Krishna's favor, and once Krishna was so much attracted to Radharani that by mistake he tried to milk a bull. So he's saying, even in the spiritual world there's faults. Sometimes the gopis used to put on their dress and makeup for seeing Krishna. They would be too much hasty and smear kumkum and mascara in the wrong places. And their ornaments and dresses would appear as if small children had been trying to dress themselves. So, Prabhupada's saying, don't look for perfection. It's just the nature that there's going to be some fault that we have to accept. And anyway, it's a specific issue that he's dealing with, but he's making the point that, like what happens sometimes is someone's a devotee, so you expect so much from a devotee, isn't it? Well, you're a devotee, so, I didn't think devotees did that, or I didn't think devotees said that, or I don't think devotees acted like that. Well, they don't, but you're trying to be a devotee. So you're coming from the conditioned stage, so sometimes conditioned devotees do act like that. And it's just part of the illness that we're overcoming a material illness. So sometimes we're not perfect. So Prabhupada's trying to just make the point that even in the spiritual world, they do what appears to be faulty things. Even the gopis, they're in anxiety and they don't dress well, or Krishna's milking a bull. So, not that that's really a fault in and of itself, but saying that we're not perfect. He goes on to say, but it's not the same as a material fault or material envy, it is transcendental. It's all because it's all based on Krishna. Sometimes when one gopi would serve Krishna, the others would say, oh, she has done so nicely, now let me do better for pleasing Krishna. That is envy, but it's transcendental, without malice. In other words, you want to please Krishna. I want to do better than you did, pleasing Krishna. So there's no malice there. But in a sense, you could say it's envy. But it's pure. It's envy, but it's pure envy. Why is it pure? Because it's being used to satisfy Krishna. And the person who you're envious of, so-called, is the one inspiring you to serve Krishna. So Prabhupada uses the word envy. I want to do better than you. So why do I want to do better than you? Because I've seen what you've done, and I've become inspired to please Krishna even more now. So I'm apparently envious, but what's the result of the envious? Being envious, I'm inspired by you, and I'm envious of you. So that's completely transcendental. Anything that helps you in Krishna consciousness is transcendental. Anything that takes you away is Maya. Now, something may externally seem to be very Krishna conscious, but it takes you away. So how Krishna conscious is it at that, No, but it's Sattva Guna. No, it's from India. Okay, it's from India. Big deal. Sattva Guna. Okay, but still, what was the result? Is the result you're becoming more Krishna conscious? You're more attached to Krishna, to chanting, to hearing, serving, or are you less attached? So you can take something which externally seems to be Krishna conscious and de-Krishnaize it in a sense. So, envy without malice. We shall not expect anywhere there is utopia. People should not expect that even in the Krishna conscious society there will be utopia. Because devotees are persons, therefore there will always be some lacking. But the difference is they're lacking because they have given up everything to serve Krishna, money, jobs, reputation, wealth, big educations, everything. Their lackings have become transcendental because despite everything they may do, their topmost intention is to serve Krishna. So that's like the icing on the cake. Prabhupada's pointing out, okay, you have a fault, I have a fault. What's the intention? Right? What are you trying to do here? You're trying to be pure. That's what's important. So now, if we see the intention in the heart of every devotee, we generally will not become critical and will generally become appreciative because we see their intention. Just like a mother, she sees the intention of the children. She's not like, hey, you're 10 years old, you should be running, a company. No, that would be stupid, right? Expecting perfection beyond what she can achieve. But she sees the heart, the sincerity, the kindness, all these things, so she's happy. I mean, she's a normal mother. She's an Indian mother, then I don't know. She wants straight A's. If she don't get straight A's, she may not be happy. But you understand the analogy. Only joking, don't shoot me, Indian mothers. You're probably laughing now because you know it's true. Anyway, maybe if you stay in America long enough, you'll change. Not that it's bad that your kids do well in school. I'm not saying that. It's very good they do. But if your kids are trying the best they can, that's what you need to see, not the grades. Now you might say, but if they're trying the best they can, then they should get better grades. If they're trying the best they can, that's the best they're going to get. And maybe they can do better next semester. Anyway, this is such an important point because we often don't look at the intention of a person, or we misjudge the intention. That's even worse. That's really bad. But we often only look at externally what the devotee is doing, and then we find fault with that. It's not perfect, it's not right, but the intention may have been very pure. So then Prabhupada's saying, appreciate the intention. It's very important. Because if we appreciate the intention, then we can be very appreciative of devotees. And then we're looking beyond, well, I didn't like the lecture he gave. I didn't like that prasadam he cooked. And he always gets up late and you're just looking at all the externals. Then you're left with nothing to appreciate. And if you can't appreciate a devotee, it's not good for your own bhakti. Which is a whole other point. Because you could say, well, I don't even know if his intention is good. I can see his activities are not good. I don't even know if he has a good intention. Now what do you appreciate? What's left to appreciate? Okay, he's a devotee. Yeah, but he's not a good one. I don't think he's sincere. Now what's there left to appreciate? You're making it harder and harder to find something to appreciate. But the point is, if you appreciate, it helps you. So it's not about being objective. You see what I'm saying? No, but let's be objective. Doesn't seem to be sincere. He's not really doing well in his service. on and on and on and on. But there's another level where we understand that how we see that devotee directly affects our consciousness. That's a whole other topic. Or you could say it's the essence of the topic. How, it's a service that you have to do for your own, it's a sadhana for your own Krishna consciousness, to see, to understand and appreciate the good intention of that devotee. That's a sadhana. Because when you do that, then you'll get inspired. So if we go back to that definition, if something inspires you, it brings you closer to Krishna, it must be Krishna conscious. If it doesn't, it must not be. So now I'm seeing this devotee and I'm becoming discouraged. So that's not Krishna conscious. Okay, devotee did something wrong, it's bad, this and that. Okay. But still, was that devotee sincere? Are they trying their best? Have they done service for Prabhupada? Yes. Okay. So I can appreciate that intention. I didn't appreciate what they did. Okay. That's another thing. But at least there's some inspiration coming there, right, from that person. I can inspire, at least you're a devotee. Just like in Mayapur, so many devotees. All over Bengal they come for festivals, Very simple. Many of them are very simple. And many of them are living in villages, they're farmers, they're not well educated. Things that we as Westerners look for in people. How do you look? How do you dress? How do you talk? Where'd you go to school? What's your occupation? Where do you live? All these things. These people, they don't have any of that. But you can see they have bhakti. So you can really get inspired by them. Now, if you're proud, you go, they're just village people. And many devotees do this. They don't get inspired by them all. It's just too crowded in here, and this, that, and the next thing. They're just getting in my way and, disturbing my sadhana. I've seen personally devotees get very disturbed by these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of guests filling up the temple room, and programs catering more to the guests than to the sadhana of the devotees. I mean, there may be valid reasons to be disturbed, but I'm just saying it's interesting from what I've seen that some of them get very disturbed by it. So, that's my point. That by how you see other devotees, you can get inspired, you can get disturbed. So if you're getting disturbed, how Krishna conscious can it be? Now, you can be transcendentally disturbed. That's another thing. There is transcendental disturbance. I'm not saying if things are wrong or bad, that it's bad to be disturbed. There is transcendental disturbance. There's no doubt about that. But I'm talking about where there's no really valid reason to be disturbed other than our own conditioning, our own pride. Who are these people? They're just occupying space and sipping oxygen down that could be better used. Like that, practically. And then you can get, you can take that racially, sexually. Oh, this group of people, but they don't inspire me. They're just this, generalized. It's not how a devotee sees. At least not how he should. It's supposed to see. And if you understand, you're only hurting yourself by seeing that way. Then it'll be easier to get out of it, because you realize, it's just subjective perception. And this subjective perception is not helping me in Krishna conscious because it's not Krishna conscious, right? And you feel it, you're aware of it. Shame on you. And you go back into your shame. Oh, shame on me, I'm prejudiced. Just see. I think everyone in this ethnic group is stupid. And I won't even talk to them. That's pretty Krishna conscious, huh? So here Prabhupada's saying, look at, their devotees are going to be they're not perfect, there's going to be some lacking, but look at what they've done. They gave up everything to serve Krishna. Money, jobs, reputation, wealth, education, everything. And so these lackings have become transcendental because despite everything they may do, their topmost intention is to serve Krishna. One who is engaged in devotional service despite the most abominable action is to be considered saintly because he's rightly situated. This is from Bhagavad Gita chapter 9. So Krishna is saying, he's telling us how to see a devotee even if they do something which we consider as not proper. How should we see them? So see them as saintly. And Krishna said, why? Because of their intention, their dedication to Krishna consciousness. They're not going to give it up. He said, that's what you see. You don't see the slip, the mistake. You see more deeply, they're not going to give up Krishna consciousness. They're surrendered heart and soul. Therefore, you can consider them a sadhu. And then Krishna is saying, he's saying, this is how you should see. And if you see this way, you become purified. If you don't see that way, then you don't become purified, or you may become, you may slip down. Depurified. That's another word for contaminated. You may become contaminated. Now, Prabhupada says, and then I'll look and see if you have any questions or comments after I read this. The devotees of Krishna are the most exalted persons on this planet, better than kings, all of them. So we should always remember that, and like the bumblebee, always look for the nectar or the best qualities of a person. Not like the utopians, who are like the flies, who always go to the open sores or find the faults in a person. And because they cannot find any utopia, or because they cannot find anyone without faults, they want to become void merge. You know, it's like impersonalism, you know, everything's bad, so just become one with the universe. They want to become void of personality. You know, well, everybody's so bad, you just give up your personality. That's Buddhism, you know, it's just annihilation. Then, you know, the Prabhupada says, your finger's disease, cut it off, it solves the problem. You know, so life's a problem, just do a spiritual process where you lose your identity, then it's like spiritual suicide. You don't have to deal with it. So if there is sometimes slight disagreements between devotees, it's not due to impersonalism, but it's because they are persons. And such disagreements should not be taken very seriously. That's why we disagree, because we're individuals. The devotee is always pessimistic about the material world, but he's very optimistic about the spiritual life. So in this way, you should consider that anyone engaged in Krishna service is always the best person. I'm very pleased that you are assisting your God brothers. This is our real position, to be servants of the servants of the servants. And by your quiet and humble attitude, you shall set the example of Vaishnava, so that all may learn from you. And very soon their puffed up attitude will disappear, and they will come to seek your guidance and advice in matters. So basically this devotee is saying devotees have faults and they're proud. And Prabhupada is saying, so if you see in the way we've been discussing, and you become a servant of the servant of the servant, by this attitude, you'll set the example, all will learn from you, and then they'll become humble also. You know, it's like, okay, somebody's proud, and Prabhupada's saying, all right, you could say he's proud, you could even tell him he's proud, you could tell others, but the real thing is, you set an example, and by your influence, they'll become humbled. Definitely not going to become humbled by telling them you're proud. I mean, maybe if you're their guru and you tell them, but in normal relationships that doesn't go down. Yeah, I just wanted to tell you, Judy, I've been noticing, you know, you're really proud. Oh, thanks. That made my day. You know, it doesn't work that way. But become the servant of the servant of the servant. That works. And you say, oh, look at Timothy. He's always serving the devotees. Oh, I should do that also. That's naturally what happens. You know, the example is much more powerful. So these situations where devotees were sometimes disturbed, and this is generally how Prabhupada answered it. Just set the example. So I'm going to go to the chat and see if anybody has any question or comment. Now you want to do a little exercise. What are you ashamed about? Write the top 10 things you're most ashamed about, and we'll put it on the internet for the world to see. No. That's if you're really humble, you could do that. Although I did a workshop and we had to do that. Like, keep going. What are you ashamed about? Wow, it's heavy. Would you like to do that? When do we start? When we help other devotees to serve Krishna, are we pleasing Krishna? Well, Alejandra, is that how you say it? Alejandra? Alejandra. Can I give you another name? This is too hard for me to say. Ali? Let's give her a transcendental name. You know, Alejandra, there's a devotee named Ali Krishna. I have to find out what Ali means. That sounds Muslim, right? But it's has some, okay, we'll call you Ali Krishna until, for now, anyway. It's easier for me to say Ali Krishna. And I get more benefit by saying Ali Krishna, too. In I believe it's the Padma Purana, Krishna said something quite shocking. So make sure you're sitting down before I tell you. He said, one who says he's my devotee is not my devotee. But one who is the devotee of my devotee, he is my devotee. So, and then we have this Sanskrit verse, das anudas. Das anudas means servant of the servant. Are you servant of Krishna? Do you want to be with Krishna? No, I want to be servant of those who are serving Krishna. So the philosophy is, the more you become the servant of the servant of the servant, the closer you get to Krishna. And the more you want to push by the servants and go to Krishna, the further away you are. So, Krishna is very pleased if you serve his devotees. That's why he sends spiritual masters, so you could serve the spiritual master, and he accepts the service through the spiritual master. Wow. You please the spiritual master. Yasya prasada, bhagavat prasada. By the mercy, by pleasing the Guru, you get the mercy of Krishna. Yasya, and by pleasing Krishna, get mercy of Guru. By pleasing Guru, you get Krishna's mercy. Without the mercy of the spiritual master, you don't make advancement. Without the mercy of Vaishnavas, you don't make advancement. Without Prabhupada's mercy, you don't make advancement. That's how it works. So the answer to your question is, not only is Krishna pleased, this is the only way to please him. Serve his devotee. And what example did Prabhupada give? You go somewhere, just like we are here at the home of Siddhi Seva. That's Judy, Siddhi Seva, perfect servant. Siddhi Seva. I observe people's activities and I give them names. So, Siddhi Seva, the perfect servant, perfection of service. And she has a dog, as you know. So, if I don't like her dog, she's not going to be happy with me, right? Get this ugly dog, smelly dog, out of the house, I can't stand him, just sell him, give him poison, just get rid of him, She's not going to be happy, right? But if I like her dog, if I talk to her dog, if I give her dog some prasadam, if I pet her dog, I really like Mahatma because he likes my dog, right? So Prabhupada quoted this statement, if you love me, love my dog. So if you love someone's dog, they like you. If you love their children, they like you. Yeah, it's natural. So Krishna, we are like Krishna, right? So we're like that also. So Krishna's like that. That's why we're like this. Are we serving Krishna when we help others to serve Krishna? That's even higher. You even get more mercy when you go out and bring other people and engage them in service. That's what Radharani does. She brings gopis to Krishna. So Sankirtan, going out and bringing other people to Krishna, is what Radharani does. So it's very high service. Very high service. You get so much mercy by doing that. That alone will make you Krishna conscious, practically. It's bringing it, because Krishna's so happy when you help other people become Krishna conscious. So that's why that's such a high service. You know, like you have a brother and he leaves home, spits on your father's face and leaves home, says, I hate you, I never want to see you again. What a service that is to your father to go out and talk your brother into coming back and apologizing, right? I mean, what better service could you do for your father than that? What better present, what better Christmas present would be a reformed brother, right? So you give Krishna to people, bring them back to Krishna, say, Krishna, here. So many people I brought to you. Prahlad Maharaj, he said, I'm happy in Krishna consciousness because I hear about you and I chant about you and I'm happy. But I have an anxiety, and that anxiety is that other people aren't Krishna conscious. So he said, I don't want to go back to Godhead if they're still here. I won't be happy. So that's a very elevated position. You know, that we're not even happy unless other people are Krishna conscious. I don't even want to go back to Godhead unless I can bring them all. Can I just Krishna empower me? Can we just bring the whole planet? Can we organize that? You know, could we just make Mexico City the first Krishna conscious city in the world? Could we do that? That would be a nice service to Prabhupada, wouldn't it? Just all the Catholic churches become temples and all, we're guiding the government now. Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah. So the answer is double yes to that. Okay, Carolina. Saint Carolina. What's the feminine for saint in Spanish? It's not san, is it? Santa is the feminine?
Santo y santa.
Santa. Shanta. Shanta is Santa. Shanta means peaceful. Saintly, sadhu, sadvi. Okay, we'll call you sadvi for now, all right? Sadvi is female of sadhu, saintly. What's going on here? Mahatma's initiating devotees on the Skype class. What about my name? Pelag has a name. We name Pelag Palak Paneer, which is the name of a preparation, which is spinach and curd. It fits him. He's kind of like spinach and curd. So, Sadhvi says, how can we know what is really pleasing Krishna? Because sometimes we can just say, I think Krishna would be very pleased by this. And maybe he is not. Sometimes you ask your spiritual master, you ask the other devotees. Sometimes you don't have a chance to ask them. I'm not saying when you're not sure. And sometimes you pray to Krishna, to get guidance. And sometimes even then you're not sure. And so you do it. And you look at the result, how did it affect the people, or how did it affect you, or both people and you, and then you kind of can understand sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't feel right, or you're not becoming Krishna conscious by doing that, and you sense it's not pleasing to Krishna. But at the same time, in our books, there's so much information about what's pleasing to Krishna. As a general principle, you help other people become Krishna conscious, you serve the devotees, you do your sadhana well, you follow the instructions of your spiritual master, you read Prabhupada's books, you help him spread Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada is not difficult to please. I think a lot of times, because we're raised Catholic or Baptist, we're like, will God be pleased if I do this? Maybe he'll throw lightning bolts at me. Prabhupada wasn't like that at all. He really wasn't like that. Cleaning my eardrums out, purifying them. Now here's Sadhvi. Here's the thing. And this is my personal experience. This is my personal experience. That we, for whatever reasons, I don't want to blame Catholicism or baptism, it could just be the way we are. It could be our parents dealt with us a certain way, make us feel guilty about everything, make us feel we're doing everything wrong. But there is something to understand. There's a psychology where we may just feel like we're always doing the wrong thing. That's just who we are. That's how we think, for whatever reason. We've been indoctrinated to think. Your parents, you're growing up and saying, you're stupid, you do everything wrong. So now you become a devotee and you think, I'm stupid, I do everything wrong. That can be. I'm not saying it is for you, but it can be, right? So you think, I'm never pleasing my spiritual master, and he came to the temple and I could just tell the way he was looking at me, he wasn't pleased, and all this stuff. And then you write a letter to your spiritual master and say, am I displeasing you? And you say, no, why? He said, well, because the way you looked at me. He said, what are you talking about? Well, last week when you came into the temple. I said, no, I was thinking about the verse of the class that morning. I didn't notice anything. Oh, okay, so I'm okay. Yeah, you're okay. So some of us are like that. We think, it's like, I really can't please Krishna. I really can't please my guru because I'm just messed up. I'm just so imperfect and so impure. Everything I do is going to be wrong. I mean, when I cook, I know something's wrong with it. It can't be good. And this, that, and the next thing. So, what I noticed about Prabhupada. Okay, Carolina Sadhvi Itzel. We'll have to give your dogs transcendental names based on their bark. We have to listen to their bark and decide, is it Nishringadev, is it Kurma? Does he bark like a tortoise, a fish, Matsya? So, one of the things that I noticed about Prabhupada was that he was very easy to please. And a lot of times if you look at Prabhupada's letters, which you should look at and you should read, in fact, you should all get Prabhupada's books on your computer. Called the Veda Base, or on your phones, which is called Pocket Vedas. And you can go through by topic what Prabhupada said and what Prabhupada wrote, going through his letters, conversations, and books. But one thing you'll find by going through his letters is when some devotee did something even not so great, Prabhupada would say, I'm very pleased. So why is he saying I'm pleased? Because if he sees their sincerity, he'll say I'm pleased. Right? So, how do you know you're pleasing Krishna? Are you sincere? Are you trying to please Krishna? If you're sincere and you're trying to please Krishna, and even externally, sometimes you don't always do it properly, Krishna's pleased. In the beginning of the movement, we didn't know how to do things right. And so sometimes we did things wrong, technically wrong, but Prabhupada would say, I'm very pleased with what you've done. Because you didn't know any better, so he only saw the attitude. That's it. I'm very pleased. So if you're sincere, you're trying to please Krishna, trying to please Guru, trying to please Prabhupada, trying to please other devotees, trying to help other people. Even if you make a mistake, Krishna's still going to be pleased. Unless it was a really big mistake, like blaspheming a devotee. No, because of course you wouldn't do that if you're sincere and trying to please Krishna. You see what I mean? You wouldn't really make a huge mistake, and if you do make a huge mistake, which I'm sure you will make sometimes, but if you don't even know what the mistake is, then Krishna's not holding it against you. If it's not something malicious and it's not something where your consciousness is not, and your intention is not pure, right? You may do things which are wrong just because you don't know, but it's not your intention to do it wrong. So your intention is to do it right, but you didn't know that you're supposed to do this. Right? The culture, Vaishnava Indian culture, is that the right hand, who's that? Alejandra, Ali Krishna, we talked about this, or somebody. The right hand is for eating. The right hand is for giving. The right hand is for doing everything. The left hand is for cleaning yourself after you go to the toilet. And traditionally in India and in other cultures, they don't use paper, they use water because it's cleaner than rubbing it back in. You clean it out. That's a tradition. So you go to India, there isn't toilet paper. You go, why? Because they don't rub it in. They clean it out. Right? And you use the left hand. So the tradition is, the culture is, you don't give people things with your left hand because that's the doo-doo hand, so to speak, right? You don't eat, you don't touch prasadam with your left hand. So the devotees first went to India and they didn't know all the culture, so they're eating with one hand, two hands, left hand. Prabhupada told them, sit on your left hand. I don't even want to see that, so he made them sit on it so it wouldn't show up. But they didn't know. You eat with your left. What American knows it's wrong to eat with your left hand? What's wrong with your left hand? It's just your left hand. But I was with a devotee. We're on the street in Calcutta. And he's drinking. He's left hand. He's drinking a soda with his left hand, and somebody walks up to him and goes like this. And goes right hand. Just some guy on the street. Any guy. Interesting, isn't it? We're like, whoa, we heard about right hand, and here are some guys like, that culture, left hand is like, nothing goes on with that left hand, except one thing. Everybody, throw out your toilet paper, you'll save about $50 this year, and just use water. So, you don't know, you're doing that and you don't know, right? So you're just, so it's not a big deal. You're not malicious, you're not the wrong consciousness, you just don't know. This is how you do something. And it's not a big deal anyway, right? Oh, he touched it with his left hand, he's going to hell for 10 lifetimes. No, it's not exactly like that. It's, it's just the culture interacting, especially in India. You see when we do arti, what hand do we use? When we chant japa, what hand do we use? It's the right hand. That's the culture. The right hand is the right hand. That's why it's all right. So you didn't know that, Yeah, I was doing arti with my left hand. I didn't know that. Okay. You're not going to hell for 6 lifetimes. You're not going to hell for every arti you did because you didn't know. Right? So that's the point. So if you're a recovering Catholic, a recovering Baptist, recovering from parents who told you were stupid and did everything wrong, you're going to have more of a problem with this because you'll just naturally think like that, But I just want to make the point, Prabhupada was very easily pleased. And even if we did something wrong, unless it was really wrong and you were in a big responsible position or really offensive, you wouldn't get chastised. It was just, no, okay, this is not how we do it. Do it this way. It wasn't a big thing. Okay. Is that okay? Okay, Antonio. You still living in a cave? Cave dweller. Cave dweller Prabhu. No, there's a name. Probably a name for that. No, because but the sadhus used to live in caves. I'm thinking there's a sadhu who lived in a cave who had a name, because they lived in caves. It wasn't uncommon. So it's within our line. But the word Gupta means hidden. So now you're hidden in the cave. But I think there's a better word. We'll call you Gupta for now, until we come up with the word for cave. I know, I think there's a devotee that lives, but there was a devotee that actually lived in a cave. What was his name? If you go to India, you go to Govardhan, and you can walk in his cave. You walk down, it's an underground cave. You walk in it. I'll ask my wife, she probably knows, the cave of this devotee. So then we could name Antonio after him. Comes in the same disciplic line. Antonio says, I have a question. If someone who has dedicated his or her life to serve God is hurting you, what is the appropriate way to deal with this without being offensive? Trinadapi sunichena, tororapi sahishnu. Nobody can hurt you unless you allow them. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. No one can hurt you unless you allow them. She's not hurting you, you're allowing her to hurt you. That way you don't have to worry about being offensive. Now, you are hurt, we don't want to deny that, but we want to acknowledge that you've allowed yourself to be hurt. Now, That is distinct from whether or not what this person is doing is right or wrong. Let's separate that. What's okay? It's the wrong thing, I'm hurt. It's the wrong thing, I'm not hurt. I don't want to deal with this? Okay, I'm hurt. We know you're hurt. Okay, but how long are you going to keep hurting? I think that's the question, right? Isn't it? Because you're already hurt, so how to deal with it now? Understand this principle. Nobody can hurt you unless you allow them to. Say, but, what this person did was wrong. Okay, that's okay, what they did was wrong. But that you're hurt, that's your choice. How you allow yourself to deal with it. Because we think, if it's wrong, hurt. Right? That they go together. But they don't have to go together. Wrong, and I move forward. You are fortunate, Antonio, because you've been hurt. Wow. Mahatma's so unsympathetic. How could he say that? Now I'm hurt even worse. How the appropriate way to deal with this is move on. Take it that Krishna is pushing you forward, something bigger and better. You know, I was really hurt in 1981. Is there any more of this blood transfusion juice? That's another name for coconut juice. Because my wife said that in the army they give blood transfusions with coconut if they don't have blood. What was the last thing I just said? It was something good, but I can't remember.
Like Krishna's pushing you forward.
Yeah, Krishna's pushing you forward. That's the appropriate way to deal with it. Krishna's pushing you forward now into something better. Oh yeah, then I went 1981, I had a problem with another devotee, and it pushed me right out of America into South Africa. And I was so happy to be there, I left it there. It was just sweet. And I got there and I said, I want to stay here the rest of my life and spread Krishna consciousness. This is my place, I'm going to stay here. So that incident was what pushed me all the way over there. So I was hurt, but how did I respond? I moved out of that zone of hurt, and I moved into the safe zone and found my place in the safe zone. And said, oh, this is even better here. So that's how you should respond. You see, if you don't find a new place, you have no place. And I think that might be your problem. You're in the O zone. Antonio, you always need service. You always need to take this situation that Krishna's moving you forward and move with it. Because obviously if somebody's hurting you, you want to move to a better place. And stop thinking about the hurt as much as possible. Or move to a better place. And so take advantage of it and say, okay, Krishna arranged this to move me to something better now. It's time to move on. You know, what about a husband and wife? It just gets really bad and like that. Sometimes that happens. A man ends up taking sannyas and like preaching all over the world. And then if his wife, if there wasn't so much friction at home, that would have never happened. So what was negative ended up being positive because he went with it. And he said, okay, I don't want this to happen, but maybe this is an opportunity now. Maybe Krishna's telling me I should just take the next step. And maybe I would have never taken sannyas if there wasn't this friction at home. So you could see it in a positive way. Say, you know, if we had this perfect relationship and maybe I wouldn't have been able to do this service. Maybe Krishna wanted me to do this service. You know, maybe Krishna wants to move you to the next level, and this is how he's doing it. Nobody can hurt you unless you hurt yourself, unless you allow that to happen. This person's only helping you. You have to see it like that. Antonio, what's good about it? What is the appropriate way to deal with it without being offensive? Ask the question, what's good about it? Ask the question, how I interpret this situation, is there any other way to see it? Is there only one way, or is there another way? And I'm trying to give you another way, but there may be many other ways. Why just one way? Why just, this is bad and I'm hurt? What about, hey, this is good and I can move on to the next level? Why not that? It's possible. Okay. Now, Carolina has made a huge mistake here. She has proven the very point she's trying not to prove, and she says this. Ha ha, that's not me, Prabhu. I'm not a saint. The people that call me a saint are saints. She's just proved by that statement that she's a saint. You blew it, Carolina. Sadhvi, you blew it. You proved yourself a saint by seeing the others as saints. You can't hide it, so don't try. It's not possible. Antonio Gupta, cave dweller Prabhu. What's important is to always be moving towards Krishna. And we should never allow anything to stop that forward progress. That's the point. Nothing should stop forward progress in Krishna consciousness. Right? Now, there may be a lot of valid things to stop it. You're like, well, here's one valid thing. This is a really good one. Here's another one. This is even better than the last one. So but what's the point of having valid reasons to not be Krishna conscious? Because if you want to be Krishna conscious, you won't have any valid reasons not to be. Right? You'll work through them because it won't make sense to you to have valid reasons not to be Krishna conscious. It's not the way you think. Right? I have to turn my phone on because I'm supposed to get a call soon from someone we've been trying to reach for a while. So think about that, Antonio. You always want to be moving forward. Whatever the situation, no matter how bad it is, you always want to use every situation in a way to become an impetus to move forward. As far as you can do that. So don't, if you say, but I can't go on because, that's not the voice of Krishna, that's not the voice of Guru. That's the voice of that material energy who wants to pull you away from Krishna. So anytime you're being pulled away from Krishna, even if it appears to be a valid reason, it's the voice of Maya, giving you valid reasons. Because really, is there a valid reason not to be Krishna conscious? Just like, let's say, Antonio, you're 80 years old, and Prabhuji, can I call you back shortly? I'm still giving class right now. I'm just in the middle of a thesis on moving towards Krishna, despite whatever the condition is. So I'll call you when we finish. Okay? Haribol. That's it. We're trying to arrange something in Seattle, and he's the connection, and we haven't been able to move. I haven't been able to talk. So one of the things that I think of often is like, you fast forward your life, right? And then you're at the end of your life, and you see if you're where you're at. And so for this example, we'll say, you're not where you wanted to be, and then you look back and look at the reasons. Would you really look back and think at that point any of those reasons were valid? You wouldn't. You'd think, no, that was stupid. I gave into this because I want And now I'm not where I want to be. And I look back in retrospect and say, that was not a good reason, right? So now, if Antonio, imagine you're 80 years old, you're looking back at your life, and you haven't achieved the level of Krishna consciousness you want, and you look back and say, well, I had good reason for that. That won't make any sense to you at that point. Good reason for not being Krishna conscious? It's just, that's like a paradox. So if you can think in those terms and think, okay, I want to be Krishna conscious at the end of my life, but I'm not. Now maybe I could bargain my way in and say, well, back in 2013, this thing happened, and I just couldn't deal with it. It was so bad. I just froze up, and I was so mad and so upset, and and the gatekeepers are listening. Yeah, you're going on and on and on. And that's why I'm not Krishna conscious. And I go, sorry, we don't let people in here who aren't Krishna conscious. Good story, good reason. I feel bad for you, buddy, but nah. Another birth, try it again, and don't make the same mistakes this time. I mean, really, that's how I like to see it, because I know in that situation, it's like, you've been absent from school too many times this year, so now it's time for some good stories, right? You got to make up some good ones, right? The first few stories you made up, they believe, but now it's like, no. Say, well, what happened was there was this snake when I was, walking out this morning, and I learned how to take care of snakes. It was dangerous for the neighborhood, so I had to stop, go back in, get the gun, and I couldn't find the gun. Then I didn't have any bullets, and I had to get the bullets. Finally shot. Then I had to clean it up, and I had to call the city, let them know there could be others. That's why I'm late, Teacher's like, you just failed the class. You've been late too much. That story, I don't believe it. So I like to look at it like that. Okay, it's not that we're denying that you have a problem, and it's not that we're denying your hurt. We're just talking about, what do you do now? How do you deal with it? How do you process it? And you want to process it in a way where you can now move forward in Krishna consciousness. You don't want to allow it to pull you away, because that's what Maya wants. And if you understand that all that thinking is just Maya. Krishna wants you. Now Krishna is testing you, and he wants to see what you're going to do now. He wants to see, are you just going to go, I give up, this is too heavy? Or are you going to say, we're going to move forward now, we're going to get over this, we're going to go forward in our Krishna consciousness, because there's nothing more I want than to be Krishna conscious. Now, so you have a great opportunity here to show Krishna your true colors. Is there a song about that? Is there? True Colors? By what's his name? Phil Collins?
Yeah. I was completely wrong on it. It's got that in there.
True Colors?
Antonio will know.
What?
Antonio will know.
You know the song, Antonio? Antonio knows the drum beat for that song, too. Antonio even knows the kind of reverb they used on that voice on that song, right? The exact model, right? He knows it all. Just by listening to it. So anyway, that's a nice way to think. Krishna's testing me, so it's an opportunity. He wants to see, Krishna's looking at you and saying, what's Antonio going to do? If Antonio comes through this, you're going to be more Krishna conscious than you ever were before, I think, if you come through it. If you don't come through it, you'll be less Krishna conscious. Don't you think, Antonio? I think you agree. Everybody here agrees? You think so? Yeah. So you'll be more Krishna conscious. So take it as an opportunity to move forward. Don't get stuck in limbo. And just, see, if you get stuck in limbo and you're just angry and lamenting, then Maya's got you, because you're not moving now. If you're moving anywhere, it's down. So, angry and lamenting is like not spiritual life at all. And so if you're angry and lamenting, you just hover in one place being disturbed. And you can't really be Krishna conscious like that. Right? It's a lot different than dancing in ecstasy in a kirtan, right? Just being, it's really different, isn't it? It's a lot different. So think about it. It's like if you're, why don't you come to the kirtan? I don't want to. Why? I'm upset. No, see, so what's the point? Krishna's coming to you, inviting you. It's like, Krishna, get on the chariot, we're going back to Gaiden. I don't want to, I'm upset. Come on, Antonio, we're going back to Gaiden. Nah, I don't want to. Let me think about it. See, so look at it like that, Not to make fun of you, but it's just, sometimes we have to laugh at ourselves, and it's because we need to see the opportunity and see if we don't take advantage of the opportunity that our reaction can harm us. And you could be in a position where, say, hey, Antonio, Krishna came for you now. What would you tell him? And Krishna offered you, one way all expenses paid vacation in spiritual world. What would you say? I hope you wouldn't say, well, I'm too upset to go right now. Like when a kid gets upset and you're trying to pass by, we'll buy you chocolate ice cream. No, I don't want it. It's their favorite thing. So you don't want to be like that. Krishna's coming. No, I don't want it. Get away from me. I don't want to talk about it. No. So you don't want to be like that. But you see, when you're in that consciousness, that's what it's kind of like that. So you don't want to be in a consciousness where you can't take advantage of Krishna consciousness when it comes to you. Okay, Guru Nishna has a question. If someone is going through a problem, says, why should I go and tell Krishna about my problems? He already knows. What could one say to convince that person that he still needs to talk to Krishna? It's like a child talking to her parent, yeah. Because it's showing Krishna that you depend on him and that you have no other shelter. And it's showing Krishna that it's like ladies will understand this. The lady says to the husband after the honeymoon, they've been married a while, says, when we first met, you always used to tell me you love me. You haven't told me you love me, in like years. And he says, well, I bought you a house. Isn't that enough? Yeah, the house is nice, but you never told me you love me. Well, I bought you the Ferrari. Wasn't that cool? Yeah, that was cool. But you never told me you loved me. So it's something like that. You might be, okay, Krishna already knows, and I know you love me, but could you just tell me? So it's something like that. I know you want this, but go to Krishna. Just pray, Krishna, please help me, because ultimately you're praying to be helped in your devotional service, right? Hopefully that's why you're praying. That's an ad for coconut water. Okay, is that all right? We can end here. Did that answer your question, Guru Nishna? Yeah, because Prabhupada also said, reveal to Krishna how you feel. Krishna, help me, this is how I feel. And Krishna likes to help his devotees. It's like, maybe you're upset and you're just like, you don't tell your parents that you're upset because you expect that they should know and do something. But sometimes they're busy or they don't really notice you're hiding it. So, and then, the next day you really get upset and then the parent says, well, why didn't you tell me? And they're like, well, you should have known. Didn't you see that I was like this or that? So, no, you should have just told me. Why didn't you tell me you wanted to do this? I didn't know. Of course, you're saying Krishna knows, but Krishna likes it. He likes to serve his devotees. So, Krishna, help me. Please help me distribute these books. Please help me preach to these people. Please help me teach these people. Please help me encourage these. Please help me be better this, better that. Right? Okay, can I sign off now? I have your permission? Because I have to take this call. Thank you for attending this class. And we will see you next Tuesday night, I guess. Maybe next Tuesday night. I don't even know if I'll be available next Tuesday night. My family is coming to New York. I'm picking them up next Tuesday. We may not do it for a few. Anyway, we'll be in touch. Okay? All right. Sadhvi. Ali Krishna Sadhvi. What was Antonio's name? Gupta? Gupta. Where's Gupta hiding tonight? Hidden. Guru Nishta. And Palak has disappeared. Maybe he's still here. He's merged into the spinach. And Hare Krishna to all of you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi.